A young and beautiful high school student, Yoon Yu-seul, waiting for her mother in their car. She is listening to pop music, but as soon as her mother, Ji-won, arrives there, she changes it to classical piano music. Here, it is revealed that Yoon is going to take part in a piano competition, and her mother wants her to win it desperately. On their way, Ji-won suggests that she be the page-turner for her opponent, Jin-mok. She explains that the page-turner is the one who can either save or ruin the performance. She asks Yoon to take time while turning the notes page for Jin-mok and make him lose his tempo while playing the piano. Yoon just listens to her mother and doesn't say a word. The scene then fast-forwards to the performance where Jin-mok is ready to play the piano, and the judges ask for a volunteer to be his page-turner. Yoon looks at her mother, and after she nods her head, she stands up to be the volunteer. To Ji-won's dismay, rather than wasting time while turning the pages, Yoon helps Jin-mok to maintain his piano tempo and turns the pages in time. Right then, the scene flashes to the past where Ji-won is giving piano lessons to Jin-mok. The latter is playing very well, but Ji-won suggests he simply feel and enjoy the piano rather than playing it aggressively. This angers Jin-mok, and when his father enters the house, he complains to him about Ji-won and asks him to arrange a new piano teacher for him. Surprisingly, the man obliges, and without even consulting Ji-won, he asks her to leave. Suddenly, little Yoon, who is also there, starts playing the piano. She plays it so perfectly that even Jin-mok's father is impressed. Seeing her daughter play the piano with such precision, Ji-won refuses to take her salary and walks out of the house. But before she leaves, she calls Jin-mok a spoiled brat. Now Ji-won's only goal is to make her daughter the pianist in her school. Back to the present, Jin-mok completes his performance, and now it's Yoon's turn. He volunteers to be her page-turner and selects a difficult piece, sending Ji-won into a state of panic. However, Yoon gathers her confidence and begins playing with utter precision. Despite Jin-mok dropping her note sheet in the middle of her performance, Yoon manages to continue playing her part and ends it in time. Shortly after, the winner of the competition is declared, and it's none other than Yoon, with Jin-mok in second place. This position has been the same for years, and Jin-mok has never been able to defeat Yoon. Elsewhere, we are introduced to a handsome boy and athlete, Cha-sik, who is taking part in a pole vaulting competition. Suddenly, just before his turn, Cha-sik notices a lady pushing his mother in the audience, and he gets angry. He yells at the lady and asks his coach to raise the bar to 5.30 meters. His coach suggests he calm down, but Cha-sik does not listen and urges him to do as he said. To everyone's surprise, Cha-sik clears the bar with ease and becomes the new representative for pole vaulting. When he announces that his next leap will be at 5.50 meters, his coach is incensed and informs him that no one has ever tried that feat in Korea. Cha-sik insists that he can accomplish it since he is feeling the energy in his leg. In response, the coach kneels down in astonishment and lets him attempt the jump. Outside the performance room, Ji-won meets Yoon and congratulates her on her win. Along with it, she also expresses her anger that Yoon didn't follow her instruction. Right then, Jin-mok arrives there and Ji-won rushes to him. She congratulates him for his second position, mentioning that he has improved a lot. However, Jin-mok replies to her rudely and walks away. The mother-daughter duo then leave the school and head home. Afterward, Jin-mok goes to the church and asks God to punish Yoon for her haughtiness and repeated false allegations. He mentions that he is sick of being looked down upon all the time. Meanwhile, Cha-sik is getting ready for his pole vault while he prays. He jumps over the bar in slow motion, only to have his pole poke him in the groin. The coach calls an ambulance and hurriedly takes him to the nearby hospital. Meanwhile, Jin-mok, who is still at church, gets a call from his friend. The latter reveals that Yoon and her mother met with an accident and that Yoon has damaged her eye severely. Hearing this, a horrified Jin-mok continues staring at the crucifix near him. The scene then shifts to the mother-daughter duo at the hospital, where Yoon tells the doctor that she is having problems discerning shape. She also tries to recognize her mother, but failed. The doctor then informs Ji-won that her daughter's optic nerve has been damaged, and now she is unable to see. Although Ji-won is distraught, she still wants Yoon to continue practicing piano and get better over time. She then goes to clear the hospital bill, leaving Yoon alone to wait for her. Similarly, in the other room, Cha-sik is being treated and the doctor tells him that his family jewels are fine, but he needs to quit taking part in sports to live a pain-free life. He further mentions that Cha-sik's spine has been damaged, and he needs to undergo surgery as soon as possible to fix it. Cha-sik is obviously devastated, but he smiles, pretending to be fine in front of his mother. Meanwhile, Jin-mok, who is at home, feels guilty and decides to go visit Yoon at the hospital. Along the way, he gets her a bouquet of flowers. At the hospital, Yoon bumps into Cha-sik and asks him to take her to the rooftop. However, realizing that she cannot see, he takes her to the parking lot instead. After he leaves, Yoon climbs the railing and gets ready to jump, assuming that she is on the rooftop. Jin-mok also arrives there and tries to stop her, but she doesn't listen. Yoon is distraught at her mother's behavior towards her and has no will to live. She simply closes her eyes and lets go. Luckily, Cha-sik grabs her before she hits the ground and tells her that for this very reason, he didn't take her to the rooftop. He also tells her that she should stop blaming her mother for her action and start behaving more maturely. Time passes by and without sport, Cha-sik spends his time sleeping around the house and remaining idle. His mother, Hwang, starts getting worried about him and selects a photo from an old photo album. Later, during dinner, seeing her son getting frustrated with his life, Hwang decides to tell him about his father and hands him the photograph. She then reveals that his father is a famous pianist and is respected all over the country. Cha-sik gets excited after hearing this and inquires why he wasn't informed earlier. Hwang replies that she was ashamed to inform him as she got pregnant after breaking up with his father at a young age. She also comforts Cha-sik by saying that though he cannot take part in sports, he can always begin practicing piano as it is rooted in his blood. Elsewhere, Yoon is with her mother at home, telling her that she wants to go to school on her own. However, Ji-won thinks otherwise. She mentions that she has arranged a new tutor for Yoon's comfort, who will teach her Braille piano note. Hearing this, the teenager gets enraged and asserts that she will no longer play the piano. She simply wants to enjoy the rest of her life her own way. Yoon states that she wants to study and finally graduate rather than wasting her time learning to play the piano. When Ji-won tries to make her understand the situation, Yoon screams that she has made up her mind. At the same time, Cha-sik is walking down the streets when he notices his father's poster for a concert. This intrigues him so much that he decides to start learning the instrument as soon as possible. The following day, Yoon gets ready for school all by herself and tells her mother that she doesn't need help. She then carries a cane and starts walking to school. Ji-won tries to follow her, but she is compelled to leave when Yoon finds out about her and starts yelling. Meanwhile, Jin-mok, who is standing nearby, witnesses the altercation and decides to silently follow her. He helps Yoon at the metro, opens the doors for her at school, and leaves only after making sure that she is ready to go to the classroom. Meanwhile, Cha-sik also arrives at the same high school and meets the teacher for his admission. To his bad luck, the teacher refuses to admit him, stating that he has to come with his mother. In the following scene, Yoon is at the cafeteria, trying to get lunch for herself. Unfortunately, she runs into a girl and spills food all over her. The latter gets angry and yells at Yoon, but Jin-mok pulls her away before things can escalate. Later, Yoon is called to the staff room where the homeroom teacher suggests she get a volunteer for herself. At first, Yoon refuses and mentions that she will manage everything on her own. However, when the teacher reminds her of the cafeteria incident, she agrees. Out of nowhere, Cha-sik arrives there and proposes to be Yoon's helper. In return, he wants to get admitted to the school. Yoon likes the idea and she immediately accepts. Shortly after, it is time for piano classes. While most of the students are well acquainted with the instrument, Cha-sik has no idea about it. He simply stares at the piano notes in bewilderment. After class, Jin-mok approaches Yoon and tells her that he wants to end their rivalry and be friends. However, she doesn't reply and simply ignores him. Jin-mok still doesn't give up and continues insisting, but Yoon tells him to leave her alone and stop showing pity for her condition. She reveals that she would have accepted his request had he asked her right after she'd won the piano competition. At Cha-sik's house, when his mother enters his room, she is shocked to see several piano notes covering the walls of his room. Despite being a Sunday, Cha-sik goes to the library and reads books with great piano lesson. With this determination, he manages to learn the piano terms in a matter of weeks, which earns him a round of applause from his classmates. After school, Cha-sik usually follows Yoon and recites to her all the lessons taught during the day. However, despite all his help, she still refuses to get on Cha-sik's bike for a lift. One evening while she is walking home, she is troubled by a dog owner who accuses her of hurting his dog with her cane. The man continues humiliating her, but fortunately, Cha-sik shows up. He berates the dog owner and eventually makes him go away. After this, he makes Yoon sit on his bicycle and drives her home. Surprisingly, she loves the ride, as she can feel the fresh air brushing her cheek. Moments later, they arrive outside Yoon's house, so she tells Cha-sik to go away before her mother notices her. Unbeknownst to her, Ji-won is standing at the entrance of the house, observing the two. She calls Yoon by her name and tells Cha-sik that they will invite him for dinner next time. After the mother-daughter duo enter the house, Cha-sik notices that Yoon left her cane outside, so he decides to return it. But to his surprise, he notices Ji-won yelling at Yoon for risking her life and roaming around with a gangster boy. Yoon immediately speaks in Cha-sik's defense and tells Ji-won that he is a good guy who made her feel the joy of riding a bicycle for the first time in her life. She also mentions that because of her obsession with the piano, she has not been able to do various things in her life. When Ji-won asks her about the award she won playing the piano, Yoon replies that she didn't do it for herself. At last, she tells her mother that she wants to live her life independently. The next day, Cha-sik arrives to pick up Yoon with a totally new appearance. He has changed his hairstyle and is wearing decent clothes. On their way to school, knowing that Cha-sik overheard her conversation with her mom the previous day, Yoon mentions that she is ready to do him any favors. Hearing this, Cha-sik takes her to the tunnel he regularly visits, and asks her to play the piano placed there. At first, Yoon refuses to do it, but when Cha-sik keeps on insisting, she agrees. Then she plays a beautiful tune, which completely spellbounds Cha-sik. At school, when the girls are getting ready to change for sports, Cha-sik takes Yoon to an empty room and asks her to change while he stands outside and guards the door. Yoon, however, tells him that she is fine and asks him to leave. As soon as Cha-sik leaves, a mobile phone can be seen recording Yoon changing her clothes. Fortunately, before the evil guy could record anything inappropriate, Jin-mok arrives there and confronts him. He begins hitting the guy till his friends arrive there and pull him off. Later at night, while Jin-mok sits to have dinner with his family, we learn that he injured his hand while fighting earlier. At the same time, his father announces that he has to play piano at his friend's wedding the next evening. However, Jin-mok shows him his injured hand and asserts that he will be unable to join the wedding. This makes his father sad, so he asks his other son to find a replacement. Surprisingly, Jin-mok accuses his father of not giving him proper attention and worrying about the wedding rather than his son. The next day at school, Cha-sik notices a poster for an event called Two Piano Competition and decides to take part in it. As the competition is set to happen in 3 months, he says he will practice hard and win it. The other students hear his words and begin laughing, saying that it's impossible to learn everything in 3 months. However, Cha-sik ignores them and stays motivated. He then walks towards Yoon and asks her to be his partner in the competition. Unfortunately, she refuses his proposal, saying he is disrespecting the students who have been practicing the piano for years. Later, while returning home, Cha-sik is still thinking about the competition when he takes Yoon to the same tunnel. He stops the bicycle and asks her to acknowledge him if he plays the same tune that she played there earlier. Yoon laughs and agrees to give him a chance. Surprisingly, Cha-sik plays the exact tune that she played, making her believe that he really has great potential. After finishing the tune, Cha-sik turns to Yoon and asks her if she still thinks that his plan to join the competition is still a joke. She replies that his confidence is starting to make sense, and also agrees to be his partner for the competition. The scene then shifts to a famous pianist, Han Myung, who is practicing in his studio in Austria. He is interrupted when his assistant enters the room, carrying some fan letters. Han Myung opens them and smiles, as most of them are from Cha-sik. The assistant inquires why he didn't mention his son earlier, to which Han Myung replies that he didn't know he had a son. In the letter, Cha-sik mentions that he is taking part in the two piano competition with Yoon. This impresses Han Myung, so he decides to go to Korea and meet his supposed son in person. Back at the tunnel, despite having very little chance of getting selected for the competition, Yoon decides to give it a go. She mentions that if they win the competition, she will again start playing the piano. Hearing this, Cha-sik states that he will put his life at risk if it's the only way to win the competition for her. Soon, Yoon starts giving piano lessons to Cha-sik and turns into a monster, yelling and shouting at every single mistake he makes. She teaches him every day and becomes more aggressive and demanding. At school, a teacher asks Jin-mok why he hasn't listed his name and he replies that he is waiting for a partner. Later, he approaches Yoon and belittles her for choosing a noob as a partner. In reply, she reveals that Cha-sik is progressing at a rapid pace and will definitely perform great in the competition. Surprisingly, Cha-sik is listening in on this conversation. He gently smiles, knowing that Yoon has started defending him. From this day onward, the two start to practice more sincerely and decide to meet in the piano room at night. As planned, the two arrive at the school's piano room where Jin-mok is seen practicing alone. Suddenly, he hears someone arriving at the room and hides behind a couch. Meanwhile, Yoon tells Cha-sik that today they are going to practice a difficult piano tune at a fast speed. The latter is ready for any lesson, so he accepts the challenge. Following this, the both of them start playing and Cha-sik tries his best to copy Yoon, but fails every time. He then continues to practice under the tunnel, but has difficulty catching up with the speed of the piano set. One day while the two are practicing, it's time to play the difficult part that they have planned. However, right then, Cha-sik lies to Yoon, saying that he is getting a message from his mother. He then walks out of the room and asks Jin-mok for help, but he doesn't get much response. So, Cha-sik tries another way. He reveals that Yoon is prepared to start piano lessons if they enter the finals. He is also aware that Jin-mok doesn't want her to give up. Although the latter denies it, Cha-sik reveals that he witnessed Jin-mok beating up the evil guy who tried to record Yoon changing clothes. The next day, Cha-sik does not show up outside Yoon's house and also does not receive her calls or messages. He can be seen trying to master the difficult piano riff. Sadly, he fails every time. The next day is the competition day, and when Cha-sik does not show up even at school, Yoon becomes anxious. So, she asks one of her friends to send a message to Cha-sik on her behalf stating that if he does not show up for practice at night, she will perceive that he is a coward. At night, Jin-mok leaves his house lying to his father that he is going to an SAT preparation class. Later, he arrives at the piano classroom at school and meets Cha-sik, who is hesitating to face Yoon. However, after gathering enough courage, he announces his arrival to Yoon. She immediately asks if he has learned the difficult fast-paced part of their performance. When Cha-sik is about to say no, Jin-mok arrives there and tells him to lie to Yoon. As soon as Cha-sik mentions that he has learned, Yoon asks him to play the tune. Fortunately, Jin-mok steps up to help. He sits to play the piano, and even with the injured hand, plays the tune with perfection, surprising everyone. Yoon is also impressed, and assuming that it is being played by Cha-sik, she starts praising him. Jin-mok gets emotional with her words as he has never heard anyone praise his piano skills so honestly. After a while, Yoon mentions that he should never leave playing piano and that he will be a great pianist in the future. These words really inspire Jin-mok and he decides to play the piano again. The scene then shifts to the competition day, where the chief guest is none other than Han Myung. His ex-wife, Wong, notices his name on the guest list and starts searching for Cha-sik. The latter is also taken aback to learn that his father is there, so he goes to meet him in person. But to his dismay, Han Myung reveals that he is not his father and that he is just there to meet the guy who mistook him for his father. These words really hurt Cha-sik and he gets angry at his mother. However, he does not show his anger and goes straight to the dressing room to visit Yoon. He asks her to continue playing the piano and keep smiling if they win the competition. At the same time, Jin-mok also arrives at the auditorium and notices Ji-won in the audience, covering her face. In the next scene, just before the performance is about to commence, Cha-sik talks with Han Myung for a while and goes to Jin-mok, requesting him to take his place for the performance. When the latter refuses, Cha-sik tells him that he has arranged everything and wants Yoon to win the performance to make her continue playing the piano. Hearing this, Ji-won also stands up to help Cha-sik with the performance. After this, Cha-sik meets his mother outside the auditorium and asks her why she lied to him about his father. Wong tells him that she did all this to give Cha-sik a new reason to continue his life, as he was depressed after being forced to quit athletics. Hearing this, Cha-sik grabs his mother's hand and takes her to the same tunnel where he regularly practices playing the piano. He then sits in front of it and starts playing while Yoon and Jin-mok begin playing at the competition. Yoon can be seen smiling while playing the piano, as she has no idea that Jin-mok is her partner. Together, they complete the first part of their performance and move to the difficult, fast-paced part. As the two begin playing the second part, Cha-sik also plays the same in the tunnel. This time, he plays it with utter brilliance, surprising everyone who is watching his performance. After the breathless performance, Cha-sik's mother is the first to break the silence with her applause. When Cha-sik looks around, a large audience is applauding for him. On the other hand, as the crowd erupts in cheers, Yoon and Jin-mok are both smiling widely. Even Ji-won is proud of the duo's exhilarating performance. The movie ends with a picture of Yoon holding the winning trophy and smiling, indicating that she won the competition. Thanks for watching this recap. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next movie recap. Stay tuned for more exciting recaps.